So we're gonna start this this new playlist, which is actually the pre-existing playlist. Before I even started doing YouTube or anything, I had already made audios like this that were, I don't know if you can say they're egotistical, but I mean, I didn't call anybody out unless they were supposed to be called out. And I've been fighting this for a little over a year now about, not making these kind of audios anymore because they do sound angry and they do sound judgmental. And then I thought about it and I said it doesn't really matter because it's part of my experience and it's what I observe and it's just as relevant as any of the spiritual woo-woo stuff that I put out. So it's funny because the inspiration for doing this was a couple of other YouTubers that I'll list here that do the same thing. And you can call it ego, you can call it whatever it is. But we're going to start pointing out things because, like I said, before I get into oneness and awakening and all that, I was a very nihilistic, atheistic asshole. And in a way, I still may have a lot of those things still in me. Not so much, well, maybe. You can tell for yourself. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Let's put it this way. These aren't going to be woo-woos. These aren't going to be like, oh, here's the awakening call, blah, blah. It's not going to be that. So if you're looking for that mojo, then you might as well go to another video. I'm not saying leave. I'm not saying that I'm not going to make any other videos or audios about spiritual stuff. It's just that it's time for me to let the ego yell a few times. So if you want to know what two sides of a man is like, then you'll be able to get it right here. All right, everybody, let's talk about what everybody and their mother is talking about. Drones. Drones in the sky. Everywhere. Might as well do it, right? I mean, everybody else on YouTube is talking about it. The numbers they're getting on views, like I'm trying to teach people how to awaken and see that they're actually worth something in their own experience, in their own life. And I'm getting maybe under 1,000 views on those. And I guess it's egotistical for me to say it, but it's like, or not egotistical, maybe it's jealousy, I don't know. But you get 1,000 views on something that's teaching you how to better yourself, but you get 1 million views about drones over New Jersey within an hour or two. And I get it. I get the whole, what are they? What's going on? I get all that. I'm kind of a UFO conspiracy nut too. I believe in all that stuff. I look at what's observable and what's factual, and I look into each story. I don't just read a headline and go, oh yeah, UFO over Phoenix, it must be true. I actually look into the details of what happened. I watch documentaries, I read books, I do all that. I do that with everything that I talk about, just so the record is clear. I don't just go off into a rant on anything just because, it's hit me that day. So I do believe in all this stuff. But at the same time, the whole craze of it, the whole, oh my God, what is the answer? Why isn't the government telling us anything? Anybody can basically sit down for a minute, get rid of all the he said, she said out of their head, and think about this logically. And there's only two conclusions. Either, actually, let's say that there's three. Let's go on the UFO conspiracy nut thing a little bit. So let's say that there's three. First, the government is the one that's doing the drones, okay? And they're not telling us about it. And that wouldn't be unheard of because they don't tell us about anything. I mean, Area 51, what that big NS-36 spy satellite is doing above the United States, not above any other country, but it's launched by us and it only surveils the United States for some odd reason. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why the American government would use new technology, drone technology, and not tell us. They could just be running tests, they could be doing any number of sort of things, and blah, blah. And that one makes the most sense because they haven't done anything to take them down. If these things were literally over military bases, especially ones that do nanotechnology and science like they do in Pitney or whatever it is in New Jersey, they would take that damn thing out. But they haven't done that. So there's one reason. Or two, the government has no freaking idea what they are. And they know, even though they don't know exactly what they're doing, they know that they can't take them out because if they do, that will just spark more questions about what they might know. And they're not ready to handle that. It's an outgoing administration. An outgoing administration doesn't want to get into anything like this, with 3 months left. Biden's not going to be like, hey, let's tell everybody that, we'll let everybody know before I leave. He's not going to tell anybody that. He's going to be like, yeah, let Trump worry about that. Think about it. You do the same thing. If you're about to leave work and then you found a 5-minute problem that you need to take care of, you're like, oh, it's a 5-minute problem. I get out in 2 minutes. I'll let the next guy worry about it. We all do that. So it's either they know and they're not telling us because they don't tell us anything, or two, they don't know, but they're afraid that if they find out, there'll be too many questions to answer and they're not prepared for that. Or three, they know exactly what they are, and they're either A, working with the companies that develop them, Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, all those big number guys, and they're allowing them to do it, or some of them are UAPs, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they're not telling the country because it would be a breach of their contract with the little green men. Now, I'm not saying all the UAPs and the drones that are being seen are UFOs, because I really don't think they are. But it's kind of like the same thing at the end. Well, I watched the X-Files, and the conspiracy in that idea was that, yeah, we know that there's bad things out there and they're coming here, but we can't tell anybody because that will break the deal and they'll get here sooner. If you watch the X-Files, you know what I mean. If you don't watch the X-Files, then you shouldn't even be listening to this one podcast. But anyways, the other problem is that, you know, when stuff like this happens, it always cracks me up because it reminds me so much of religion, specifically Christianity, because Christianity will say, oh, don't worry about this world. Don't worry about what's going on in this world, because Jesus is coming back and we're all going to be good in heaven, so don't worry about any of this stuff. Don't help anybody out. Don't worry about it. Don't say no to war. Don't do any of the things that I told you while I was walking around, or Jesus told you when he was walking around. But instead, worry about all that afterwards because Jesus is coming back. Well, it's the same thing with drones or any kind of thing like this that happens. Remember the balloons a couple of years ago? It takes our minds off of other things. So with the Christians to say, don't worry about helping anybody out in this world, we'll focus on that in the afterworld. They're telling you now, hey, look at these things in the sky. But don't worry about the billions of dollars that we're sending to other countries to kill a bunch of civilians that we don't know, women and children. Don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about how the country is about to go bankrupt. Don't worry about how finances are going through the roof. The stock market goes up one day and crashes the next day. Don't worry about any of that. Just look at the things in the sky. You see what I'm getting at? Every time, that's how our news cycle works in this country. Every time there's one big blunder, Hunter Biden gets caught with an alien in bed with 15 machine guns and a bunch of coke. The next day, Trump Jr. gets caught in a bed with 15 different aliens and 8 pounds of coke. It's just one step to the next. But what is a good way to take everybody's mind out? Because this is the thing. I was reading about this in early November. And before that, I was reading about them going over bases years ago. But now that everybody's seen the ones in New Jersey, now everybody's looking up in the sky and they're pointing their cameras up and they're taking pictures of stars and airplanes and a bunch of other things that are not drones or UFOs or UAPs. But now it's all over the country and everybody thinks they've seen something. MUFON is reporting that, you know, their reporting has come in like tenfold since this all started. But nobody's asking or worrying about any of the other things that we should be focused on. It doesn't even matter if a UFO flew over your house right now. You probably got better things to worry about than that UFO. But because your mind is so easily duped into worrying about what's happening in front of you or what might happen, the fear kicks into it. Oh, what do they want? Why are they here? We gotta shoot them down. We need the government to do something. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, your house is burned down because you forgot to take the eggs off the frying pan. You see what I'm getting at? It's all a distraction. It's all it is. It's a distraction. It's a distraction that serves an ideology, that serves purpose in forming different branches between the people, and it's all fed to you so that you think that it's more important than what's really going on. Listen, these drones have been flying around for, I won't even tell you how long. You can do your own, study on that, but they've been flying around a lot longer than 2 months. But just take the last 2 months. They've been flying around for 2 months. Has anybody been killed by one? No. Have they? Oh, they're a danger to flights. Have any airplanes crashed? No. Have they done anything that at all can cause physical or property damage that we've seen in the last 2 months? Absolutely not. Well, but they could. Yes. Well, they could. You're right. This is true. But at the same time, an airliner could fall out of the sky and we wouldn't say ban all air flights, right? No. So the problem is we're all too caught up in the fear of the unknown. Oh, we don't know what they are. We don't know what they want. Again, if they haven't done anything after 2 months, what makes you think they're going to do something? Well, it could just be probing. They're probing us. Why are they probing New Jersey? What, they want to find out about Atlantic City? I don't get it. Like, why would they probe Jersey? Yeah, Jersey has some things. Like I said, what they do at I think it's called Picanee or whatever that base is called. They do some crazy stuff. You want to look into something. Everybody talks about that base being, that was the first sighting of these drones flying over in Jersey. Go look at what they're doing at that base, because that's one of those things that the government doesn't want you to know about. But it's out there, and you can find it. The stuff they're doing with nanotech, this video might get erased if I even go into it any further. It's all to keep your eyes off the prize. They have been feeding you stuff since you were born. They fed your ancestors since they were born, and they will continue feeding and feeding and feeding to keep your eyes off the prize. Now, what that prize is, I don't really know, but it's pretty simple to figure out that it's either, one, to better your life and to become less ignorant of facts, two, to actually question what they're doing with the tax-paying money that you pay all the time, and three, becoming a normal, moral, ethical human being that's not blinded by fear. But they don't want that, because if you do that, they realize that you wake up to certain things, and that's what the whole awakening movement is. You wake up to things like materialism and how that's ruining your life. But they want you to keep buying those big screen TVs, so they don't want you to see that. And there's a whole bunch of other things I could sit here and ramble on about. They don't want you to see it, so they keep throwing these things up. I don't know if it's the government. I don't really care who it is. Me, personally, I think it's a commercial company. I think it's somebody testing stuff out, and that's why you know nothing about it. It always cracks me up when my friends are like, oh, that's crazy, that technology just came out of nowhere, like AI just came out of nowhere, or the B-2 stealth bomber, man, that oh yeah, in the 90s, that thing just came out. No, they had been studying those things. AI has been around since the beginning of computers, since the very beginning. AI did not just come out. It just came out in public release. That's all it is. The B-2 stealth bomber was based off of things that were created in the 40s and 50s and 60s and then turned into a B-2 stealth bomber, which, by the way, looks mysteriously like a UFO, especially a V-shaped or triangle-shaped UFO that everybody sees out west, where they were actually training these things. And what do I know? What I'm getting at is they're taking your mind off of it, off what's really going on. It doesn't matter which party it is. It doesn't matter which political side. It doesn't matter if it's this old white guy or that old white guy. It doesn't matter. They want to take your mind off of it because they don't want you to know what's really going on. Stop asking why there's so many drones in there and start asking, why is it that every time I think about buying something without saying a word to anybody about it, or even myself, I then see an advertisement for that very thing on TikTok or on Facebook? They don't want you asking those questions. They don't want you to understand how is it that advertising would know my thoughts. They don't want you to know that. They want you to worry about that thing that's in the sky. They don't want you to know about the things that are hurtling towards us in the sky. They don't want you to talk about that. Just worry about the little things that are flying around. Folks, these things are literally flying over cities with FAA approved light patterns. The lights that are flickering on them are FAA pattern lights. Okay? That right there tells you that at least some of them that are showing that are somehow commercial or earthbound. Okay, this whole alien thing, yeah. I'm actually one of the people that, there's not a lot of us, and I've had, really crazy arguments about this online, that don't believe that a superior intelligent race from another, what everybody always says, world, which I don't agree with at all, but they think that they would build these spaceships and come here and they don't want to be detected, but for some reason they put headlamps on their UFOs. Why would they do that? Answer me that. Why would one alien say to the other alien, hey Frank, I'm going to do some modifications before we leave for Earth? Well, what are you going to do, Chuck? I'm going to put these headlamps on there. Well, what do we need headlamps for? Well, so we can see in space. Yeah, but we telepathic. We control the ship by our mind, and we kind of know what's already out there. It's just empty space. Yeah, but it would be cool, we'll get some headlights going, some neons, some LEDs, be cool like those Earthlings. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? Oh, I don't want to be seen. I'm going to fly billions of miles to fly over Wichita, Kansas, but I'll make sure I'm going to turn all my headlights on so everybody can see me, even though I don't want to be seen. Think about it, folks. I'm not saying they're not real. I believe in them. But just use some simple logic and just think about it. The drones in the sky, I don't know what they are. I don't really care what they are, because like I said, they haven't caused any harm yet. To the people that say, oh, well, they're just probing, I've been in the military. It doesn't take you 2 months to probe one certain area over Buckwood, New Jersey. It doesn't take that long. They're not looking for nuclear materials. They're not looking for any of that other crap you've heard. We actually have teams that do that. They wouldn't, that's just stupid. Okay, it's not Project Bluebeam. All right, the whole Project Bluebeam thing needs to die a fast death. Okay, just get rid of that because it's stupidity. Okay, it will never work. Anybody with half a brain can figure out that the first 2 stages of that would not work. And not to mention, why go through all that when you could just do the last step and call it a day? But that's a different story. We'll make another Blue Dream one about that. These drones are nothing more than that. They're drones. Now, are you seeing UFOs with the drones? Quite possibly. Maybe some of the UFOs are floating around out there and they're like, the hell's that thing? And they go down, they orb up and they look at it and they go, oh yeah, that's somebody trying to do something against the American public that they don't know nothing about, but we won't be a part of them. They fly away. Think about it. Just use common sense and logic here. Think about it. What is the answer? Bring it down to 2 answers or 3 answers. Don't go down rabbit holes. Don't just sit here and think to yourself and see what you come up with. And you'll come up with the same thing I came up with. It's either A, they're doing it, most likely. B, they don't know who's doing it, but they know that they can't get in the middle of it. Or 3, they know who's doing it and they're just following the plan. They don't want you to use your own mind. And the reason why I said in the beginning that this is a lot like religion is because they're trying to take your eyes off the prize. Your eyes in religion would be using your own mind to come to a conclusion of what God is or isn't to you. We have been using the same game of controlling people since the beginning, whether through religion, whether through societies, whether through school systems, whether through dictatorships, whether through whatever it may be. Hey, look at this. Don't look at the real problem. What happens when everybody starts looking at the real problem? The truth comes out. So start questioning everything and stop asking why or is it going to hurt us, and start using your mind to realize what's really going on. I love you all. Walk in light.
Until next time, my friends, I ask all people everywhere to plant seeds of love, peace, joy, and oneness.